Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. So on the agenda tonight, we have Adrian Belew, and this is going to be him playing through a guitar solo called Drive. And this is from pretty much like a workshop of him explaining about technology and guitar and also taking us through his guitar that's a custom model. But I'll mention about that later on in the video. But let's get Adrian up on screen and see how he gets on with this performance. I'm just going to jump in here while we've got this natural break when Adrian's now starting to mess with the computer a little bit, because this is his rig. It's all set up, everything's connected. It's very much on the cutting edge of bringing technology into guitar playing. You would have noticed that Adrian is getting that loop down at the beginning of just this riff that's going to be playing through the whole performance, and then just layering different melodies over the top with chords, also with lead notes as well, and a lot of work done here on the whammy bar. And I've seen an interview with Adrian where he says that he uses a lot of tremolo, and this is where it can get confusing for people that don't play guitar and aren't up with the terms, especially when you've got somebody of Adrian's ability calling that whammy bar the tremolo, because it used to be called that, and that's why players in different generations might actually call that whammy bar the tremolo bar. And if you don't know what tremolo is, in terms of the effect, it's used to describe an increase and a decrease in volume, and that's what a tremolo effect is. That's what tremolo means. Whereas the whammy bar actually changes the pitch of a note, which is called vibrato. So calling it a tremolo isn't really that accurate, but it's just what it used to be called, and then that's why loads of people get confused as to what tremolo is. Just getting into the way that Adrian's using this whammy bar, he's using it not only to decrease the pitch, which you see most commonly, but also to increase the pitch. And we actually saw that in the intro, where he switched that whammy bar arm round, pushed down on it, and therefore made those strings tighter, increasing the pitch. And he also does further on in the track, those regular dive bombs, decreasing the pitch all the way down, but it's a great effect and he uses it really well. And the thing about Adrian's playing is it's so artistic and everything's in there for a reason. I saw an interview with him where he's explaining about his playing and how he never plays a solo the same twice and likes to keep it really original every time that he plays. And you can certainly see those elements and those parts where he does change his solos, but there are a lot of melodic components here that are absolutely strict, where if you do see this performance more than once, maybe 2 or 3 times, as I have, you'll notice it in the intro. Everything is so strict just obviously that loop has got to be strict because that is the foundation of the piece. But then layering on those parts that we've just seen, those are always really strict as well. But then later on in the track, we'll start to get a little bit more freestyle and a little bit more extemporization in Adrian's playing. You would have noticed as well the way that Adrian really artistically threw in, striking those strings above the nut of the guitar. And the nut is basically the lowest that you can go, the line at the bottom of the guitar. And sometimes you'll get kids, I'm a guitar teacher, so I have this all the time, they start hitting the strings because they say, oh, it sounds like a piano, and it just sounds different. And generally, you're never going to be doing that unless it's in your composition. And Adrian uses it so well. He just sits it in there. We've got that really cool reverb so that all of these notes are just sitting in the background, almost like a ghostly quality, something that Adrian does a lot with fading in volumes. And we can see in his whole setup here on the floor that he's got a lot going on. This is actually a simpler setup than I've seen in the past, but using those pedals to swell in volume. But this combination of technology and guitar might remind you of a certain Robert Fripp, who I also did a video on, but unfortunately it got blocked on copyrights. But that was a great video as well to watch in terms of the technology. That was called Frippatronics, something that Robert was working on in terms of looping exactly like we've got here really. But Adrian and Robert, of course, were in King Crimson, so they probably have the same kind of influences in terms of where they want to push their sound and really pushing the boundaries of their sound, always looking for something different. Let's get back into the performance. I'm just going to jump in here because Adrian's starting to push the boat out here. And just the way that this is all over that initial riff, just all in the same key. So he's certainly really going down some different avenues, giving you some totally different sounds. And talking about sounds, I just want to get into that little section that we have there that is almost like a combination of a snake charmer, a violinist, and a lead guitarist, because he had such a unique sound, and that is all to do with this guitar that he's playing, which is his own signature model. It's made by Parker Guitars, and this is called a Parker Fly, and this is Adrian's own signature model Parker Fly. And what Adrian has had put in here is full MIDI capability, so he can plug into a MIDI effects processor and effectively get any sound that he wants to come out of an amp by plugging into those effects whilst playing through the guitar. It's like almost like playing a keyboard where you can just select any sound you want. That's what he can do to his guitar. And the reason that we got those really long held notes that never died, almost like a violinist, is because Adrian on this guitar has a sustainer pickup, and that's just above the neck pickup on his guitar. So when he actually switches that on, he now has to pick once, and those notes will last. So he can do hammer-ons, pull-offs, slides, and that sustain is just going to keep going, as he says, until the battery dies. It's just endless sustain. And as Adrian does use the whammy bar quite a lot, his strings are locked in tune, and if you've ever played with a Floyd Rose bridge, then you'll know about the locking nuts you can have at the top of the guitar, but just helps to keep everything nice and solid when you are doing dive bombs, and like I mentioned, actually increasing pitch just keeps everything a lot more solid and in tune. Finally, a really cool feature: when Adrian was designing this guitar, the company Line 6 came out with a guitar that's called Variax, which was something that emulated guitar sounds like a Les Paul, a Fender, and you just selected which guitar you wanted it to sound like. So Adrian took that technology and put it in his guitar. Effectively, it's a tone emulator that he's got. So if he wants to get a Fender Strat sound from this guitar, he just literally pops it onto Fender Strat, and then he'll get that out of the amplifier. So a really cool feature. So when you add these elements together, that MIDI capability, which is a huge thing by the way, because it means that Adrian can turn his guitar into any instrument. He can make any sound from it that he wants. Add that to the sustainer, which means he can get any sound he wants, infinitely sustained for as long as he wants. And then if he just wants to go totally old school and sound like a totally different guitar altogether, he's got that Variax, and he can literally choose between 25 different guitars. So this guitar just in itself as a piece of kit is mightily impressive. There's so much scope for creativity, and that's exactly why Adrian designed it the way that he did. In terms of Adrian's playing, of course he is pushing the sound to the limit, getting great combinations of sounds and just seeing what he can do with just a guitar. But of course his technique has got to be up there in order to play these lines, hammer-ons, pull-offs, slides, expression with the whammy bar as well, vibrato thrown in there, and he does really go all over that fretboard, explores different melodies within a track, even different melodies that you might have heard at the previous night in the same performance at the same track. He'll give you something different, and he just likes to do that to keep himself fresh and to give the audience something new to listen to. And unfortunately, I'm not going to have time to watch this whole video, but I'm going to put the link to this in the description below so you guys can watch the whole thing through if you want to. But thank you so much for suggesting this video for me to take a look at, and keep those suggestions coming in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the next one. Rock!